of Oceania breached the important milestone of 1 trillion rand for the first time in 2019. And with South Africa having recently acceded to the Treaty of Amity with the ASEAN region, we anticipate increased opportunities for further collaboration with the key Indo-Pacific regional actors. This provides a strategic platform for enhanced trade and economic initiatives with a wider range of Asian partners. As is the case with the Western Sahara issue I discussed earlier, there are recent developments that are undermining the internationally agreed parameters to end the occupation of Palestine based on the outcome of 2 viable states. This includes the dilution of the Arab Peace Initiative agreed to by the Arab League in 2002, which linked the normalization of relations with Israel with its withdrawal from the occupied territories. South Africa will continue to foreground the importance of multilateral-led initiatives to end the occupation, so that people on both sides of the 1967 Green Line enjoy freedom, peace, dignity, and justice. Our country has also continued to enjoy strong and mutually beneficial relations with countries in Europe, South America, and North America. In Latin America and the Caribbean, we have strong cultural, social, and economic ties with all countries in that region. We are concerned, though, that Cuba and Venezuela remain severely affected by unilateral sanctions outside of the legalities provided for sanctions by the UN Charter. The United States also remains a strategic trade and investment partner, with partnerships for South Africa in key areas such as health, education, transport, environment, science and technology, and energy. Exports of goods and services and income from U.S. investments in South Africa amounts to over $412 billion per year. We also enjoy very cordial relations with Canada. Canada's development assistance is targeted towards South Africa's domestic priorities such as health, education, governance, and capacity building. South Africa and Canada are both strong supporters of multilateralism and collaborate at the level of the United Nations and other multilateral fora on issues such as climate change, human rights, shared and inclusive growth, gender empowerment, and peace and security. We enjoy mature and excellent relations with the Nordic countries. These are based on mutual respect, human rights, dialogue, consultation, and cooperation, with a very strong emphasis on supporting South Africa's drive to greater autonomy in these fields. All the Nordic countries are active on the African agenda and have prioritized African issues in their recently announced foreign policies. This includes they seek to expand diplomatic relations on the continent, to expand trade and investment, to provide expanded development support, to be involved directly in peacemaking and conflict resolution, youth development, the promotion of women, cooperation on climate change, and the promotion of a more just and equitable international system. It is our intention to further exploit opportunities in innovative sectors such as energy, climate change, digitalization, agriculture, water management, and oceans management with this region. We also look forward to strengthening bilateral and economic ties with Turkey as we prepare to host in 2021 the inaugural South Africa-Turkey Binational Commission. We have built very good cooperation with Russia as our strategic partner bilaterally and within formations such as BRICS and in the UN, amongst other multilateral fora. The country is South Africa's fourth largest trading partner in BRICS. However, although bilateral trade with Russia has increased significantly from 2.9 billion in 2010 to 13.1 billion in 2019, we believe it remains below potential, and we are working very hard to boost our economic relations and bring them to a high level. We are doing this through our structured mechanism, the Intergovernmental Committee on Trade and Economic Cooperation, which I co-chair with the Trade Minister of Russia. Other countries in the Central and Eastern Europe region demonstrate great potential for expansion in trade and economic relations with South Africa, and we intend to explore these opportunities further in 2021. Of course, the countries of Western Europe remain critical for South Africa's economic development. These countries include some of our major foreign investors, our largest trading partners, and largest sources of tourism. Some 2,000 European companies represented in South Africa are also a major source of employment and skills development here. Countries in the region have been supportive of South Africa and Africa's efforts to combat COVID and have provided test kits and other forms of assistance to all African countries. We are pleased to have been part of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID vaccine research program. The European Union is still the largest economic bloc in the world, accounting for 25% of global GDP and around 20% of global trade. And they are South Africa's largest and leading trading partner as a bloc. Total trade has increased from 150 billion rands in 2000 to 693 billion in 2019. Despite that, there still remains a declining trade deficit and an ongoing negative trade balance. Exports to the EU have increased steadily over the years, but we'd like to see more. They grew from 64 billion in 2000 to 319 billion in 2019. On matters of global governance, the world today is changing at a very fast rate. Changes affect international relations and how countries relate to each other and position themselves on the global stage. It is an integral part of our work as diplomats to monitor the shifting global dynamics and challenges. Aside from the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the rise of trade wars, increasing protectionism, nationalism, and populism, and an inward-looking focus in some countries' domestic priorities, these have been challenges to our collective efforts for change through multilateral institutions. While we believe this may change with the anticipated re-engagement with the multilateral system by the United States in 2021, we as South Africa will continue to work to strengthen and indeed reform the institutions of global governance. Our 2-year services as a non-elected member of the United Nations Security Council concludes at the end of December, a month in which we are serving as chair of the Council. Many observers, including member states and think tanks, have suggested that South Africa's third term at the UNSC was particularly successful. We demonstrated through our votes and engagements with other council members that our stance is independent of global political blocs, and that our values and characteristics, as shaped by our struggle against colonialism and apartheid, which now underpin our constitutional principles, determine how we engage on issues pertaining to peace, security, development, and human rights. The fact that we were consistent on matters in the UNSC and across the UN system strengthened our role as bridge builder and justified a more permanent role for South Africa and other African countries at the Security Council. Our term as chair of the African Union coincided with our role at the Security Council. We used this opportunity to champion African issues at the United Nations and to foster closer collaboration on matters relating to peace and security between the UNSC and the AU. South Africa also prioritized the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which seeks to eliminate trade barriers and is expected to enhance competitiveness and stimulate investment, innovation, and economic growth on the continent. We were very pleased at agreement to begin implementing the AFCA in 2021 and believe this is an extremely positive development for our continent. We will also continue to utilize our membership of fora such as BRICS, IPSA, and IORA, the Indian Ocean Rim Association, to advance reform of the global political and economic architecture and create deliverables through the emerging role of the new development bank. We also will promote cooperation in health and innovation, trade, tourism, and investment, and continue with our efforts along with Africa to reform the UNSC. South Africa needs international support, and in particular requires investments and support for debt relief to deliver our President's vision of accelerated industrialization, women's empowerment, and youth employment. We plan to focus 2021 on economic reconstruction and recovery implementation, alongside a continuing focus on the pandemic and responses to it. One of the challenges that we faced as DIRCO in 2020, and I close with this, was the repatriation of our nationals who found themselves stranded outside of South Africa due to lockdowns that were implemented by many countries, including South Africa, in our attempt to curb the spread of the virus. From the time the President announced South Africa's Level 5 lockdown on the 15th of March 2020, to the time when international travel was again allowed under Level 1, our department, through our consular services, managed to repatriate just over 30,000 South Africans who were stranded in all corners of the world. We did this using over 350 flights. The number excludes tens of thousands who used our land borders and who were involved in this process. I know many officials spent sleepless nights working 7 days a week trying to bring our fellow citizens back to their loved ones. This experience has made us realize the importance of making sure that we equip all South Africans who intend traveling abroad during this season with information that might help them not to find themselves needing to be repatriated because they're stranded. Some pointers we wish to suggest are: 1, that countries in the Northern Hemisphere are encountering a second wave of the pandemic. South Africans should be cautious in traveling to these countries, as you may become distressed or even destitute abroad, depending on the levels of lockdown in the respective countries, and with the likelihood of international flights that might be cancelled at short notice. Please do be aware that if you do travel, you travel at your own risk to these countries, knowing the current circumstances and the uncertainty associated with that. Please ensure that you are familiar with the immigration and health entry requirements of the country you will visit, and South Africa's entry health requirements during the pandemic. If you have any uncertainty regarding the entry health requirements of the country you will be visiting, then please do contact their embassy in South Africa for assistance. If you need any clarity on the health entry requirements upon your return to South Africa, we ask you to consult the website of the Department of Health. Second, please ensure you have adequate travel insurance. Many South Africans had no or inadequate travel insurance during the peak of the pandemic earlier this year. It couldn't cover extended hotel accommodation, nor could it cover new flight tickets and other costs. 3, when you arrive at the country you're traveling to, please register with our embassies abroad. The contact particulars of all our embassies are available on DIRCO's website at www.dirco.gov.za, all lowercase. South Africans are encouraged to register via the email addresses provided, as some of our officials might be working remotely due to local lockdown regulations and will not be always available to take your calls. Inform your family or next of kin of your destination and the duration of your stay. 4, ensure that you meet the immigration requirements of the country you wish to visit, as countries have revised their visa regimes during the global pandemic. 5, read thoroughly on the country you intend visiting, as the global situation is unstable. If the country you visit is a high-risk one, consider postponing your visit or proceeding with caution if travel is unavoidable. 6, know the COVID-19 protocols of the country you intend visiting, and should you not comply, you might be refused entry. Although not yet common, many airlines may likely require proof of COVID-19 vaccinations before allowing commencement of travel. Currently, only a COVID-19 negative test is compulsory. And finally, travel well, be safe, and exercise extra care and caution this festive season. And as DIRCO, we wish all who are following us today well over the festive season. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. We will now have an opportunity to take questions.